of that middle white box oriented to the head, to the brain. You're mapping up that cube with a head, and you're building your visual representation of the mind around the whole brain, mind, and body, but also around a visual representation, which then leads to technologies.
So this is really a dynamic process as opposed to a stagnant process. I mean, it evolves.
And it becomes, and the good words. Let me change it a little bit.
Right.
That the more static
Okay.
process of a frame independent of time or process
Okay.
is one's face. Is this left, right, up and down? And then I used the third dimension to show the process, the time passage. So that makes it's that third dimension that makes it dynamic.
Got it.
And then I took this 5x5 and put it in each of the 8 corners of the 3x3. Go back here.
Yep. Yep.
Here and 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 here. Then I could take,
Wow. Yep.
I could have a much more powerful, but repeating patterns that were simple, symmetrical, systematic, shareable, Socratic, because you'll see it's a question and answer thing. So this x-axis, left to right, also, instead of just being left brain and right brain, puts technology on the left side in a little building, and puts humanity on the right side in a little building. So Harvard's here and MIT is over. Harvard's to the right and MIT is to the left. And then the past, if this is the past and that's the future, here's the present. You can think about it over time. And so anything that I would want to think about provides this as what I call Charlie's conceptual city, and a learning framework that can then go another step up to be the whole city. But I wanted to steal the intersection we saw on the MacArthur Foundation. We just grabbed that the screenshot this morning, so that you're really going from a framework that can be superimposed on any city in the world, or any location, or any building, or any place. And like Pokemon Go, you have a abstract version back here,
Right.
and you can go back to parts of it.
Right.
So you see the migration path.
Right.
Now the question is, how do we use that to that vision?
Right.
That's as a tactical organization to deal with the technology and tools, the teams, the proposals, the projects, and then wind up with. These are some cases of things I've already tried before I invented the 3 dimensions.
Okay.
But I've documented all these 10. And for example, I work for Skinner, showing how creativity can be used with this operant conditioning. And I used this course in Singapore and GE and Harvard Business School, IBM, to teach creativity. There it is. And then there were a lot of problems at Harvard with Drew Faust and the Flyover Club. And I wrote a paper that had a major impact back in 2006 using the same methodology. And my company was $5 million in debt, and $500,000 in cash and receivables, and I turn it around with my method and have a paper about it. So from 2011 to 2017, in 6 years, it's gone from that being closed down by the IRS and being stolen by a sociopath,
Right.
to a company that's got $1.2 million in cash and receivables and $50,000 in current payables.
Wow. It's a nice balance sheet.
So, and then I did something on orchestrating the Presidential Vision 2012, and I got a guy who's had end-stage renal disease and was dying in 6 months, and he's now just wrote a letter saying how happy he is. He's down in Newport giving parties and going to dances and flirting.
Wow.
And then this is my daughter-in-law, who you met, Tom, up in Dublin when we went over to Sam's house.
Right.
And his wife, who's 5'5", weighed 270,
Okay.
is now down to under 170. And
Wow.
and using my method.
Your method.
And her father, Ollie Boskert, went from 220 to 150, 70 pounds.
Wow. And no health issues with him. Did he have a
Just overweight.
right?
And then me focusing on this tool.
Right.
So future things to do, and you're not on the list, but here we built this digital prototype. This guy's got a whole learning program out in California. Had thousands of students last weekend, and Marshall Van Alstyne gave a talk today at MIT at the Media Lab, and he does platforms, and he's one of my. And Elon Musk is trying to bring clean water to the whole world. No, not Elon Musk. That's Eagles Milberg. And Elon Musk is thinking he's going to hook up brains. There are all these possibilities. Those aren't necessarily. I think the putting this on top of Facebook would give it a lot more power. So here we are with that background to start with you. Now, what comments about what I said took 20 minutes?
Right.
Which parts of it made sense to you? Which parts didn't?
The parts that make the most sense, Charlie, for me is the visual part. When I see the boxes, and I see, how those little boxes not explode, but how they increase.
You're listening to this right here.
And all the possibilities in between. And then the big question is, how do they all intersect?
Okay, so we got started, and we're on the right track. That I was able to get through that in 20 minutes, and I could do it faster, and it won't be too hard to start editing it and getting it shaped up. But I like the format pretty well. Tell me what you thought about when you were doing it, and your comments about what you're hearing from us.
I think the format to showing, visualization that she mentioned is very helpful. So I think, and then she said, then she's a bit confused on how the boxes can be correlated later. So I'm guessing once we have more specific examples or so, we can start coming up with more detailed graphics as well. And I thought about for the 3x3, we can definitely start labeling which axis those big general ideas as well, and then carry that over to the 5x5, and then do the same thing. How when we go from 3x3, then what more general stuff gets broken into more specific steps. I think like labeling that alone will like definitely help more.
Yeah. Well, what has become clear to me is the content itself is a small part of this.
Mm-hmm.
The core curriculum part. It's the context and the framework that have to put it in a larger framework,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see how it relates to other things and not just as one isolated fact. So when people say, "Well, I just want the facts out of context are not very helpful."
No, you can give them a list of facts, but
Yeah.
because it's going to be fluid once in context.
So what we decided to do to make this is to do a 5-part set of slides for you,
Right.
and that it would be about taking, and even though it's narrowly focused on eating and drinking, it's much more broadly focused on that. And so we're going to start it now, and that's the title of the thing. So let's talk about what I need to do using this outline. Let's start at number B, I'd say, and Hio's going to put in the questions. Tell me your story about how you got here, with why you give me the one paragraph story.
One paragraph story regarding weight, is that what because that's our problem?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've dealt with weight all my life. I was overweight as a kid, lost 100 pounds. Grew up in a household, as I told you, with my mother, who was executive director for Weight Watchers for New England. Of course, there's the dynamic of, you can't eat that. Oh, yes, I can. Watch me. All of that. So, over the course of my life, I've lost 100 pounds, gained 40, and that's lost 70, gained. But just in the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, 2 years ago, I dropped 80 pounds, gained 40, lost 30, gained 50, lost, and
Yo-yo.
Yo-yo, and each time I've been back to Weight Watchers. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I can do it. The points, the this, the program, the that, and I thought, okay, it's time to go back to Weight Watchers, and I thought I can't. Because my mind is not letting me do that, and my mind plays games all the time with food. Oh, I can have that. No, I can't. Yes, I can.
Okay, so that's what I wanted.
Yeah. Okay.
And what we want to do here is capture the question and then also capture some of the answer. I don't know if you were able to get any of that.
Yeah, I'm just.
You capture as much as you can. We'll figure out where to put it later.
Sure.
And so let's go to item C here of the goals. What are your goals?
Immediate goal would be to
No, not for the future. But what had your goals been in the past?
oh, my goals to be able to lose the weight and maintain it.
You lose your weight and maintain it.
That
was your goal.
That's my goal.
And
each time I fail, and then that does a number on your brain, on your head. It's like, I'm not worthy. I can't do that. I can't. So you begin to retreat from life a little bit. Oh, you retreat from life. Oh, I can't do that. So then now I'm gonna eat that because it makes me feel good. And then you retreat from life. Then okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna lose. So it's a roller coaster.
And so you were talking. The next question is D. What the strategy that you've been following? As you told me, it was following some version of Weight Watchers, because that was what your mother.
That's what we did, and even that was back in the '60s, and now now we're 2000, whatever it is, 17. So I count my points and I do that, and but I know how to lose weight.